Hey guys, it's Paradise, and with the new patch dropping for Elden Ring, a bunch of things have been nerfed or changed. So we're going to show you the before and after the patch on these specific changes, so you can see just how impacted certain things are, and you will be surprised, as some things have been completely destroyed, while others aren't that bad. So drop a like and comment below what you think of all these changes, and if you enjoy seeing the differences before and after in this video. We've done all of our before and after testing without any buffs, so we're not showing the full potential before and after in order to have a good baseline to see the actual differences between pre-patch and post-patch. So let's jump into it. So first up is the changes to Perfume Bottles and the Rolling Sparks Ash of War. Now, it's no surprise to anyone that these were extremely powerful before this patch. Everyone could use them, run up to a boss, throw it down at their feet, and just nuke them in a number of seconds usually. What made this so OP is that the Rolling Sparks Ash of War would pop several instances of damage over time as it traveled. However, if it collided with an object such as the floor, it would pop all of those instances of damage at once, which would cause that massive nuke. Well, as you can see here, after the update, this has now been changed so that as soon as it collides with something, it instantly pops one instance of damage, effectively destroying this Ash of War. What this means is that perfume bottles that use this will no longer be able to do anywhere near the amount of damage that they could do previously. Some of the things in this patch have been nerfed, but they aren't that bad, but this is one of the things that has been nerfed into the absolute ground and is absolutely ruined. Next up is the Blood Fiends Arm, another target to the nerf hammer. However, you might be pleasantly surprised to hear that this one hasn't been utterly destroyed. What made this weapon so insane before the update is every charged attack would effectively instantly apply a bleed, as well as just massive damage in general. This of course was super fun to use and was extremely powerful, but after the actual changes in the patch, it seems like the damage has been reduced slightly and the actual status buildup of the heavy attack has been targeted and has been reduced, causing every 2 to 3 charged heavy attacks to trigger a bleed instead of just one. So while of course it's not as powerful as it was before the patch, it is actually still usable and is more in line with a normal traditional weapon. It's just not exactly a top tier busted build anymore. And then we have the thrusting shields and the changes to your stamina damage when getting hit while doing the overpowered block attack. What made this one so amazing before the patch was the fact that you could two-hand it, block, and attack at the same time, and you would only really lose stamina for the attack and not the incoming damage you receive while blocking during the attack. This meant you could just unga bunga spam attacks while blocking, being invincible and dealing a ton of damage. After the patch, we can clearly see you do take a lot more stamina damage while getting hit and doing this. However, it's by no means just completely destroyed. This is still a viable build and playstyle. It's just not as unga bunga press R1 and L1 at the same time. You actually have to release the block button occasionally to build your stamina back up in between your bursts. So it is nerfed, but it is still very playable. And then we have the changes to the Smith script weapons. All Smith script weapons can be thrown with their strong attack, and both the dagger and the cirque have had the range of this increased, and it's a super tiny increase, barely noticeable. But outside of this, the Smith script weapons, as well as the Golem Fist, have had their affinities changed, and it didn't label it in the patch notes, but it's actually affected the holy damage scaling. As you can see on the left-hand side, the physical damage is much higher than after the patch, as it seemed like the scaling for Faith was adding to both the holy and physical, making them a bit stronger than they should be. Honestly, I think this was fine before the patch. It made them usable rather than just kind of rubbish to mid, so now I'm not really sure how good these are going to be. So ultimately, holy scaling on the Smith script weapons is just objectively worse now, but more testing is needed. I won't write them off just yet. And then we have the Carion Sorcery Sword, an interesting item added into the DLC that is both an intelligence thrusting sword and also lets you spellcast weapons as if it's a staff. So it was kind of like a 2-in-1, but before the patch, this thing absolutely sucked. It had almost no scaling with your int for the spellcasting, so you'd never use it to cast spells, and it didn't even do that much damage. But now it's been bumped up to S tier in int scaling, and the actual spellcasting side of things received a buff where it's dealing a little over double the damage on spells that it was before. I tested this before and after the patch with 80 int, and it actually is usable, although it doesn't compete with other staffs at this high of an int level. So it's definitely usable as an int weapon and as a staff, but if you want to do maximum damage, you're going to want to use dedicated staffs anyway. One other thing to note is that the Discus H Cheese that people were doing, where they were using it to effectively abuse buffs on their right hand to give it to the damage of the shield on their left hand, this has now been nerfed, so you can no longer do that. So there you have it, the before and after these big impactful changes in the patch. Rip the Perfume Bottles, rip the Blood Fiends Arm, although it is still usable. Thrusting Shields, again, kind of nerfed, but also still usable. I'm still undecided on what I think about the Smith script Holy Scaling change, but do tell me your thoughts down below. And overall, how are you feeling about this patch? I'm really surprised other things that were just as powerful as some of the things here that got nerfed weren't actually impacted. So share your thoughts down below and subscribe for more Elden Ring coming your way very soon.